$3 million. That's the price tag, the actual cost our nation is paying right now for every single Patriot missile being launched over the skies of the Middle East. These sophisticated interceptors are what American and Israeli forces are using to take down Iranian drones that cost only a fraction of that amount, sometimes as little as 1/10 the price. When you look at those numbers, it makes you stop and ask a very serious, very honest question. With such a staggering difference in the cost of this war, who will truly be the last one standing when everything is finally over? Because war is not just a flashy contest of firepower or a showcase of the newest, most advanced weapons on the battlefield. At its deepest level, it is a long, grinding test of endurance, of which side can keep its resources, its money, and its national will flowing when the fighting stretches from days into weeks and from weeks into months. In plain, straightforward language that every American understands, modern war is first and foremost a logistics problem and a test of staying power. The side that runs out of missiles, runs out of money, or runs out of public support first is the one that eventually loses ground. Serious strategic studies of this ongoing confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran make that point crystal clear. Right now, the nations involved are not just fighting each other, they are racing against time itself. America and Israel hold clear and impressive advantages: superior air power, precision-guided weapons that can strike with pinpoint accuracy, highly integrated intelligence systems, and multi-layered missile defenses that are the envy of the world. Yet our leaders are determined not to allow this conflict to drag us into a long, exhausting, and incredibly expensive war of attrition that slowly bleeds our resources dry. The reason is sobering and very real. In a remarkably short period of time, this administration has already committed enormous sums of money, nearly $900 million every single day. In just the first week of major combat operations, Washington spent more than $6.2 billion. That figure is roughly equal to the entire annual economy of a small island nation. Maintaining that level of spending is not simply another line item in a government budget. It means difficult choices right here at home. Dollars that could have gone to repair our roads and bridges, strengthen our infrastructure, or support American families and their daily needs may have to be redirected to the battlefield instead. The bombs and missiles falling overseas have become a mirror that reflects the true capacity of our entire nation to endure and keep functioning. During the intense clashes that took place in June of last year, Iran launched approximately 631 missiles, with nearly 500 of them targeted directly at Israel. The Israel Defense Forces reported successfully intercepting 86% of those incoming threats, but achieving that level of success required firing a very large volume of their own defensive missiles. That put real and immediate pressure on Israel's stockpiles. In previous conflicts, this nation has come dangerously close to running short on interceptors and had to rely on urgent emergency support from the United States. These developments reveal a painful but unavoidable truth. Even the most advanced and sophisticated air defense systems on Earth cannot escape the cold, hard mathematics of attrition in modern warfare. The striking paradox that stands out here is this: a single cheap drone or outdated missile that costs only tens of thousands of dollars can force a defender to expend an interceptor worth many millions of dollars just to destroy it. When that same pattern repeats itself hundreds of times over, the financial and logistical scales tip dramatically out of balance. Experts have warned for years that running low on ammunition has always been the hidden Achilles' heel that can stop even the strongest and best equipped military machine in its tracks. We saw this clearly in the grinding artillery battles of the Russia-Ukraine war, where the rate of shell consumption was so high that many Western nations had to scramble to rebuild their defense production lines after decades of reduced investment. What we are seeing unfold in the Middle East today is even more complex and demanding. These high-tech weapons are not only extremely expensive, they depend on long, intricate, and highly specialized supply chains involving advanced electronics, precision sensors, computer chips, and rare materials that simply cannot be manufactured overnight. You can picture this entire contest not as a short, fast sprint, but as a punishing, long-distance marathon. Before either side can force the other to surrender, both must prove they can keep their own engines of supply, funding, and national resolve running longer than their opponent can. Even for the United States, the world's preeminent military superpower, this unbreakable rule still applies. President Trump has expressed strong confidence that America possesses the strength and resources to sustain operations for as long as necessary. Yet detailed assessments from our top defense research institutions present a more measured and cautious picture. Even the number one military power on the planet faces genuine limits when it comes to resources and industrial capacity. Public procurement records confirm that in recent peaceful years, the U.S. has ordered only a few hundred interceptor missiles at a time, not the thousands that a prolonged high-intensity conflict would require. In calm times, that quantity may have been sufficient, but in a fast-paced, high-tempo war, the rate at which munitions are consumed can quickly outrun what American factories are currently able to produce. Adding to the challenge, since the fighting first broke out in Ukraine, the United States has transferred vast quantities of critical equipment overseas: Javelin anti-tank missiles, Stinger air defense systems, and millions of 155mm artillery shells. Those transfers have noticeably reduced our strategic reserves here at home. Rebuilding those stockpiles could take many years, even if no additional aid is committed anywhere else. And now, in the Middle East, we face the added and urgent demand of continuing to supply Israel with the interceptors it needs. Multiple theaters of operation are pulling from the same limited industrial base at the same time. The irony is impossible to ignore. Our defense supply chain depends on specialized contractors and highly complex components, which makes rapid scaling extremely difficult. Consider Lockheed Martin, the primary manufacturer of the Patriot system, one of the cornerstone air defense platforms for both the United States and our Western allies. Throughout all of last year, the company delivered roughly 620 of the advanced PAC-3 missiles. Yet simply replacing the large numbers of missiles fired during just a few days of heavy fighting would require more than 15 months of non-stop production at current rates just to catch up. And even when interception rates reach an impressive 80 to 90%, there are always vulnerabilities. If the enemy launches thousands of projectiles in a single, overwhelming saturation barrage, even a small percentage that manages to slip through can still cause serious and painful damage. This raises a difficult and sobering question that our leaders have had to confront directly. How long can these layered defensive shields realistically hold if Iran unleashes wave after wave of attacks specifically designed to exhaust and overwhelm them? In modern warfare, the weaker side rarely tries to confront a stronger opponent in a direct, head-on fight. Instead, it looks for every possible weakness in the stronger side's armor and exploits it. We witnessed a textbook example of exactly this approach last June. After American aircraft struck key Iranian nuclear facilities, Tehran responded with a sustained and well-planned counter-campaign that lasted a full 12 days. Significantly, Iran did not begin by using its most powerful and advanced weapons. They started with repeated waves of inexpensive, older drones and missiles. The strategy was deliberate and clear: to grind down and exhaust the opponent's expensive air defense systems. When radars suddenly light up with dozens or even hundreds of incoming targets at the same time, the defense network has no choice but to react. Every single defensive launch burns through costly interceptors. Only after forcing Israel and its partners to expend large portions of their precious stockpiles did Iran begin escalating with more capable medium-range ballistic missiles, some reaching hypersonic speeds and ranges of 1,400 kilometers. This is what military planners call a saturation attack on air defenses. By flooding the skies with large numbers of threats, the attacker deliberately pushes the defender's system into overload. Iran further increases the pressure by coordinating closely with its network of allied militia groups operating from Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. These forces act as spearheads, striking from multiple directions at once, forcing the other side to spread its resources thin across a very wide theater of operations. Iran also possesses a special strategic advantage that is plain to see on any map: strategic depth. While Israel is a relatively compact nation, Iran is a vast country with rugged mountains and difficult terrain that naturally complicates any attempt to destroy its military capabilities completely from the air. A focused air campaign can certainly neutralize important targets, but completely eliminating the military potential of such a large and geographically dispersed nation is extraordinarily difficult. Tehran has turned this natural defensive advantage into a solid foundation for long-term resilience. It has aggressively expanded domestic production of missiles and drones, creating redundancy and preparing specifically for exactly this kind of prolonged conflict. Even while facing heavy international sanctions, Iran has continued to obtain critical chemicals and components through alternative channels, including black market routes. One documented shipment alone involved 2,000 tons of missile-related chemicals, enough material to support the production of hundreds of ballistic weapons. That is precisely why Iranian missile factories and launch sites remain high-priority targets in American military planning. This careful, patient, and methodical preparation has placed the United States and its allies in a genuine strategic bind. Washington has the responsibility to defend its partners and keep vital sea lanes open. At the same time, it must maintain a massive defensive umbrella that consumes vast quantities of munitions and logistical support day after day. The requirement to protect American bases spread across 6 different Gulf nations has itself become a significant drain on resources. Those very installations, while essential for regional security, can also become targets for Iranian retaliation. In just a few days of intense fighting, air defense systems across the region have already expended munitions that would normally take years to replace under normal production schedules. Recent reports indicate that key allies, such as the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, have requested urgent resupply from the United States because their own stockpiles were running critically low. Beyond the direct cost of the weapons themselves, a drawn-out conflict brings enormous hidden logistical expenses, fuel for aircraft carriers and fighter jets, constant maintenance of sophisticated equipment, and the continuous rotation of American personnel. The true price tag of modern war is almost always much higher than the official figures that appear in the headline. Because of all these factors, America and Israel may achieve many impressive tactical victories, destroying thousands of targets, disrupting enemy command networks, and weakening Iran's immediate offensive capabilities. Yet the larger strategic goals, fundamentally changing the regime in Tehran or completely eliminating its missile and nuclear programs once and for all, are far more difficult to accomplish in a short period of time. Iran has repeatedly made it clear that it is fully prepared for a long, sustained fight. Its leaders do not need to win in the traditional military sense. They understand the technological and conventional gaps are wide. Therefore, their goal is simpler, yet far more persistent: survival and endurance. If the government in Tehran remains in place, and its underground production lines continue operating despite the rain of bombs, then according to the logic of asymmetric warfare, Iran can claim a form of victory on its own terms. History has given us sobering reminders of how this can unfold. Consider America's long and difficult experience in Vietnam, or the more recent and painful withdrawal from Afghanistan. In both cases, a superpower, equipped with unmatched resources and superior technology, ultimately faced an opponent that was willing to absorb enormous punishment and simply keep going. The weaker side's strategy was to turn the conflict into a costly and exhausting quagmire. Over time, when the financial burden, the loss of American lives, and the strain on public support at home grew too heavy to bear, even the strongest power was forced to step back. Iran appears to be counting on a similar dynamic, hoping to outlast its adversaries through sheer endurance rather than trying to win on the battlefield in a conventional way. In the end, the side that can bear the wounds and keep standing longer often holds the final advantage. As the bright trails of missiles continue to light up the night skies over the Middle East, one deeper truth becomes increasingly clear. In prolonged conflicts, the idea of a clean, decisive, and clear-cut victory can become elusive. Every missile that is fired, Every defense system that is activated and every strike mission that is flown carries a heavy price in dollars, in equipment, in American and allied lives, and in the future, strength and stability of nations. War consumes not only weapons, but also national resources, economic stability, and the hard-won peace of entire regions for years to come. Therefore, the question of who will ultimately be the last one standing does not always have a simple or fully satisfying answer. What is certain is that in any prolonged and bitter struggle, every side involved ends up paying a real, lasting, and often painful price. If these honest, clear-eyed examinations of strategy, real costs, and America's vital national interests matter to you, especially at a time when our country faces serious challenges both overseas and here at home, we invite you to become part of the conversation right here, U.S. Fury Force. Your support by subscribing and sharing your thoughtful comments helps us keep bringing you this kind of in-depth, trustworthy analysis. We would genuinely value hearing your own perspective in the comments below. After all, these are the serious matters that will shape the future of our country and the world that our children and grandchildren will inherit.